So next I introduce Marco. Marco Beranzoni is a financial crime specialist from SymphonyAI. Marco has an insightful presentation coming up, and I'm putting a disclaimer out there that he is open for questions after his presentation. So welcome, Marco.
Thank you, Eva, and thank you everyone for attending this session where I will be talking about a very innovative approach to AML compliance. I'm an Italian who's been living in London for almost 25 years now, so some of you from the audience is probably expecting me to open this talk with some British humor, but I will spare you that. And if you were looking for... Sure. If you were looking for a smooth British accent, I'm afraid that you will not get any of that either. But what I will talk about is how we are going to use generative AI to help people in the regulated sector, in regulatory compliance and ML, to fall back in love with their jobs. Some of you may know me because of my YouTube channel, and if you are in the audience and you are already subscribed to FinCrime Agent, massive thank you for helping this project to reach over 10,000 subscribers only a couple of weeks ago. I'm very appreciative for that, but today I'm not here to talk about FinCrime Agent. I'm here representing SymphonyAI, which is the organization where I'm working for as a financial crime expert. SymphonyAI is producing technology solutions for the financial services sector, and we support the financial institutions for the detection and mitigation of financial crimes for over 200 banks around the world. I would like you to start by thinking about a moment in your career when you had something very meaningful, a moment where you were making a difference in what you were doing. Just think for a second, when was that? Which job were you doing? And where were you geographically? And why did that make you feel that good? For me, this was in 2010. Maybe you don't recognize me, that was me. And back then, I was in the very first job in banking, and I was working as a Sanctions Screening Officer for one of the largest US banks. I was based in London, and I was so excited to be in this role. The reason was that with this job, I was basically stopping transactions for otherwise ending up for the smuggling of weapons, for example. Transactions that could otherwise be used for human trafficking or even for funding terrorism and many other significant predicate offense, very important, that are connected to economic sanctions. So, very motivated to be in this job. I was coming from a payments and fraud sector and in another industry, so it was my first job in banking, and I really wanted to make the difference then. But the honeymoon period, that's how they call it, soon ended when I had to face the volumes of alerts that someone in this type of role needs to deal with on a daily basis. If you're not familiar, we are talking about hundreds, in general between 400, 600, even more alerts on a daily basis that a sanctions officer would need to review. So we talk about very big volumes, and out of these big volumes, probably you think, okay, with that figures, you must be catching lots of bad guys, right? But that was not actually the case. Out of these thousands of transactions that you see being reviewed with massive volumes of alert, actually 3, maybe 4 transactions per week are going to be connected to a sanctions entity. So we're talking in average between 99.8 and 99.9% of what is called false positive, which is essentially volume of alerts that an investigator would need to review and not necessarily going to go anywhere, but the attention that an investigator needs to pay for all those transactions is exactly the same, because you never know where that 1, 2, 3 transactions are actually going to be hidden. So you're going to end up by reviewing hundreds, thousands of transactions just to spot that precise payment that could be a connections with a sanction entity. And this is affecting people in many ways. Personally, I was affected from the motivational aspect. You can imagine going to work 5 days a week, 9 to 5, hundreds and hundreds of transactions, and it's a job that you can think is high responsibility but very repetitive as well at the same time. So the motivation element is one which it was making me think maybe to change industry. I was initially very passionate to be in financial crime. The other element is on the productivity and actually having the time that someone is spending in that job by doing something a bit more interesting than just reviewing transactions. And personally, I was affected even physically, so I had a high level of stress that was affecting me quite a lot. So that's why I was thinking to move out of the industry. But I actually remained, and I managed to transition into another role, eventually into the intelligence and investigation unit for another financial institution. So the kind of challenges shifted from the massive volume of alerts. Now in intelligence and investigation was more focused about connecting the different dots for having a meaningful investigation. Some of you may know that financial institutions not always have the most structured and well-organized data in order to allow people to do an output of an investigation in a very efficient way. And this is very true across most financial institutions. So the problem shifted from lots of volumes for false positive into actually being able to connect the dots for your investigation. But I was sure that there was a way to do this in a better structure, in a better way. There was a way, and I was sure that the technology as well was supposed to help us to work in a more efficient way. So I wanted to also be part of that change myself, and I remained in financial crime for a few more years. So you will see I've done experience across other financial institutions still in financial crime until I ended up working for a vendor where we provide technology solutions to the market to mitigate and fight financial crime. SymphonyAI is operating across AML transaction monitoring, economic sanctions, as well as customer due diligence. So I was telling you all this not just for you to know what is my background and my history, but it's because I wanted you to understand and relate to the fact that I personally paid in my own skin, and I felt which are some of the key challenges that are still faced today by a lot of people within this sector, and by the people working in this sector, not just by the organizations that are investing in the technology elements. But something important happened last year in November 2020 when OpenAI launched ChatGPT. It was the first time that an organization in less than 1 week, actually in 5 days, managed to reach 1 million subscribers. And as you probably know, the hype of artificial intelligence was when it was started because of that, because of the way that ChatGPT helped people to relate with artificial intelligence and generative AI. Of course, this existed before. It wasn't brand new, but it helped people that were not within this sector to correlate and deal with this type of technology because of the language model used. With that came also the topic about how many jobs will be in the industry after the arrival of artificial intelligence. If you think that by 2025 there will be 100 million people that will be work or will be connected with their job with artificial intelligence, that's only 1.5 years from today. This opened the topic not just about the job opening, but also about the jobs that will be lost because of artificial intelligence. So there is in here the discussion about revolution, some people talking about evolution of the job market because of that. But anyway, we cannot deny that it's going to be a very significant change that is happening already today. So we talk about people, more jobs, less job, massive changes, and also industries that will be affected because of this change. Some sectors will be completely disrupted and be negatively affected because of that. Although there is one sector that is not negatively affected by it. And I'm referring to the financial crime sector. Not the financial crime that we are fighting. I'm talking the financial crime on the other side that the bad actors are playing with. They don't have the boundaries, they don't have the regulations, they don't have the rules to follow that we do in the regulated sector. They can adapt extremely quickly to new technology and use them at their advantage to spoil the banking and financial sector. So we need to be quick and we need to adapt in the same way as quick as we can, regardless of all the regulations that we need to follow. But what if I was telling you that today we can already fight that back with the technology that we have? What if this technology will provide us with a virtual assistant that will help our people to work better with the technology that exists? What if this solution will help us and will help our people to do a structured investigation, perhaps by searching of the data that are required to complete an investigation, and perhaps also by helping them to recap on those data points that are reviewed through the investigation. Probably know how long time it takes to write a report at the end of a money laundering investigation. And this is why I'm very excited to be on this stage today and to talk to you, because this year, in May 2023, SymphonyAI launched the SENSA Copilot, a solution that has initially been rolled out gradually. As I said before, we work across AML transaction monitoring, economic sanctions, and customer due diligence. So we started with the AML transaction monitoring space, and that's what we are doing. With the SENSA Copilot, we support the investigator in working more efficiently, in a more productive way and more interesting for sure. Helping them with the research aspect by pre-populating research that they would need to complete otherwise, and then by writing a recap and a summary of those information. We started to use the Copilot with a selected list of financial institutions. We cover over 200 banks around the world, and we have 50% of the tier 1 financial institutions that are already customers of SymphonyAI. So with a selected list, we are running the fine-tuning part of the SENSA Copilot before it's going to be out on the market in the next couple of months. We said before that criminals are moving faster, and so are we today. Based on the output and information we have received with those pilots, with the selected list of banks, we can see the difference is gone up by 70% by using the SENSA Copilot for running a traditional investigation in AML transaction monitoring. So you can gather what kind of difference we are talking about here and what difference is going to make for the productivity of the financial institutions and for the people working in this sector. I'm gonna let you look at the SENSA Copilot in a very short review. So keep in mind that we are looking at this investigation now from the eyes of an AML transaction monitoring investigator. So what you see in here is a list of individuals that have been already detected because of detection scenarios that has been running in due to rules-based detection scenarios in combination with artificial intelligence detection scenarios. So all those people on the right-hand side, basically they will need to be investigated because of money laundering reasons. We can start the video now and you will see that. I'm gonna pick the first one, Mr. John Doe, and towards the top, SENSA Copilot is already providing a summary of who is these individuals, which are the key elements, and you can see below the detection scenarios that trigger concern for this customer. So we would need to understand which are the transactional activities completed by him. And I'm going to ask Copilot to extract those information for me. Just take out transactions above 5,000 Canadian dollars related to this customer in the last 12 months. And then you see on the right-hand side an extract of those information, and on the left, SENSA Copilot is going to pre-populate also in a numeric format and graphical interface for the investigator. We can go even deeper, for sure. in line with your company policy and procedures that will be trained behind this model. We can ask if they see anything suspicious out of those transactions. And SENSA Copilot is going to analyze those transactions, see if there is a mismatch, maybe for the type of customer, what is his business, and what kind of transactions is processing. Is there any suspicious in there in line with your risk policies and procedures? And what should we do next? So we will also get a suggestion from the Copilot in here, where in this case it say, continue your investigation. So we move to a different tab where we are going to outsource information. In here we've got information outsourced from the web, which have been pre-summarized for the investigator that can simply click on the link if he wants to read the full article, or just read what Copilot pre-populated for him or for her. Save some of those articles and then move on with the investigation. At this point, of course, we are at the end of the investigation. Let's make it quick. We're just going to write a summary of what we've done with this customer, which is the investigation, what are the reasons for investigating, which are the conclusion, and what should be the outcome. So all this has been automatically written now by the Copilot based on your interaction with the system. Is that too long? We can make it shorter, for sure. I'm asking to make this 150 words, and I'm also asking to write it in Danish for us. So you guys in the audience probably are in the position to assess if whatever Copilot is writing is correct, much better than I can, and since it's not my language. But of course, Copilot can write in any language and can understand you if you write Chinese or whichever language really. As I said before, this is going to be a model that will be trained in line with your risk appetite. You've got policies and procedures about how you want to write a suspicious activity report, what could be a risky transactions for you, and which are the main concerns that your organization needs to be key to look after, and that's what Copilot is going to be trained for. As I mentioned before, we operate across the globe with over 200 financial institutions, clients of us for over 20 years. So we have received the trust of very large financial institutions, and we have applied the highest level of security across all our solutions for over 20 years, and we will do that for sure also for the SENSA Copilot solution that is being rolled out. There has been these two words, effectiveness and efficiency, that if you have attended at least one conference in the financial crime space, you must have heard so many times in the last decade or probably in the last 2 decades. With the SENSA Copilot, we are definitely going to address these two elements, the effectiveness and efficiency that an investigator and an organization and whoever is investing in reducing the volume of financial crime to catch the bad guys are going to be interested in. But there is the third word which I want to introduce, which is the excitement. The word that actually is connected with the people that are working in this sector, that are going to work with a different perspective by reducing the volume of repetitive actions and concentrating their time by doing something that they love, something that put them in the first place into this type of role because they wanted to do something good for the society maybe around them and something good with their lives. So we are making something that is going to be good for organization and for individuals working in this sector. So I want you to leave this session today by thinking that by working together today with this technology, we can be one step closer to a safer financial services sector and at the same time help our people to progress with their career with enthusiasm and passion. Thank you.